This week on Life's Been Good to Me So Far, we're going to be looking at the beginning of my 2012 VW T5 4Motion campervan conversion, turning it from boggo, just straight up van, into a swamper camper beast.
This is how legends are made.
Welcome to my van build series. This is my 2012 VW t5.1 long wheelbase high top. The van it's replacing I bought back in about 2016. It was a T5, again long wheelbase but a low top. At the time I wanted a 4Motion, but there was just no way I could afford one at that point, so I ended up with a 2-wheel drive van. And because I was working on very little budget, it was a import from Ireland, and it was a builder's van in a horrific state with very high mileage, but it was very cheap at only £2,500. Despite the fact that I lowered that van, it ended up going off-road all over the place in order to get in and out of camping sites and other things like fields for shows and bits and pieces like that. Plus I just generally drove it like a bit of a twat anyway. The other thing that needed to change was the fact that I was actually in my van for long periods of time, particularly when I was following cycle tours and things like that. So I definitely needed more space, so it had to be the high top. But I didn't want to go something as big as a Crafter or something like that, so I kept with the T5. So I managed to pick up this beauty, a 4Motion T32 with 50,000 miles on the clock, though I did have to drive all the way up to Scotland to go and get it. And it is not without its problems. As it's lived up in Scotland, it's got quite a rusty underneath and a fair few bits of rust on the body panels as well, which is not great for this model. So these are my inspirations. I want to go for something like an adventure style van, a bit like what they do with the Crafters and Sprinters and things, except I want to do it with the T5. My aim externally is lift kit, snorkel, winch bumper, off-road alloy wheels, safari style windows, and a rear door mounted spare wheel along with other kinds of racks. Maybe a safari roof rack with some solar on it and some mole panels and all that sort of stuff. Internally there's actually about 6'2" headroom, so it'll be 6 foot by the time it's all insulated and things. That should be enough room for maybe between 2 and 4 beds, seating for 6, and just generally enough living space if maybe there's just me and my partner going out on a nice camping week. Once I got the old flooring up, I could see that the rust was actually pretty bad. I just want to get behind all the panels and see the state of what's going on with the rest of these. It turned out actually behind all these panels everything was in really good shape, but I wanted them to come off anyway because I want to put a whole new set of panels and get them carpeted in something, whether that's just 4-way stretch carpet or some kind of suede type stuff or something like that. I don't know at this point. I did find these weird riv nut fixings put into the van all over the place. I don't know whether they'll come in useful at a later stage. So that's it, that's the whole interior. The panels started to be removed. There's a bit of a mess of wiring where they'd put the trailer wiring kit in. They hadn't actually put the correct tall door panels on, so they'd just glued those panels on. So the first big job was to get the bulkhead out. I had to unbolt it and then grind away all the little brackets from around the mounts and everything, and then grind back all the rust that I found nearby. So you can see there was actually quite a bit more. I was a little concerned about that, but a quick job with the grinder and had it all back to bare metal. And then got all the rust treated and then coated coated with epoxy primer. Had all the floor all cleaned up, and any other little rust spots I found all around the floor cleaned up as well. So it ended up pretty nice in the end. So now it's time to get the floor sorted. So I was just making sure that the ply that I bought all fit, and then I whipped that back out again, and I got all the floor insulated and ready for the ply to be laid down more permanently. This insulation is just basically sound insulation, so it's offering a little bit of thermal, but it's mostly for sound. I'll be using this plus some thick padding, Dacron type insulation for thermal insulation on the sidewalls. I haven't yet made my mind up about a vapour barrier. I've heard lots of arguments for and against using them, and I think a little bit more research is needed before I actually fit one. These are the old seats that came with the van that I really wasn't too fussed about. Not keen on that grey. And this was the new one going in. Much smarter, with a centre fold down armrest as well. What I'm aiming for is a later date to get them updated a little bit in trim. By that I don't mean changing the pattern, I just mean fitting some bolstered seat pads like this. Bit of work on the outside. I cut a new window in the driver's side and fitted the Safari window from Transporter HQ, and I fitted a couple of little camping windows up in the roof. And now it's ready to go in to have its suspension done. So it's having all new BIGH, I think it's because I got high, is that it, from Transporter HQ, along with Bill Stein lengthened shocks. So that should raise the whole thing up by about 40mm. It's having a new subframe put in there because the old one's crusty as hell, and also having all new brake lines and things too. So it's looking pretty smart. Whilst it was in, it had quite a lot of work done elsewise, so just general service and brakes, caliper, things like that needing changing. So this is it all lifted up. You can really see a difference with the arches, especially compared to my old van. You couldn't fit your hand in the arches, and now you can fit your whole head in there. So it's looking pretty smart, but it's still looking crap in the respect that it's still got its steely wheels on there, old crusty ones. This is a good impression of what the change is from old to new, just how much higher it is. So the next thing I had to do was work out if I could get the motorbike in the back so that I could drive the whole lot up to PP tuning to get the exhaust and underseal done. So I've got to try it in there and see if it'll fit. Although, to be fair, if you can't deal with watching that, you should probably turn off now, because there's going to be a lot of it in further videos. That's going to be tight.
Tweet.
But so long as it closes, which I think it will, that is, wow, that is tight. Holy crap. Holy crap. I'm going to have to put some things around it to protect it from body panels getting damaged. But
put the mattress around it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. But I think it actually fits. Holy crap!
The church is celebrating with you. The church is celebrating with you.
It's celebrating, isn't it? Yeah. Right. Oh. Now it's going to be the interesting bit. I want to try and get it up on its stand, and I'm on the wrong side of the bike really. Oh, she's there. Alright, let's see if the door closes. I reckon it will. Cool. Just got to wrap it and strap it. So the seats are as far forward as they go, but there is actually room for passengers in there. And my motorbike. Incredible. Well, here I am. I'm just dropping the van off at t5.1 up in Love. You can see the tuning van behind me. And that's my van. And I've just had my motorbike in the back of my van so that I can get up here. Now I'm riding my motorbike back. And I'm going to come back this time next week, and hopefully I'll have a full side exit, zero box exhaust, and I'm going to have a full unsealed done as well while it's here. Cool. Well, see you this time next week and see what it looks like. So these are all the images that PP Tuning sent me. I knew that the van was pretty rusty underneath. I mean, I paid less for it because of it. However, there was more rust than I appreciated. During the works of getting the suspension done, I had the subframe changed over because I mean the subframe was really crusty. Most of the steel brake pipes and all the flexi pipes as well. But there's a lot more rust than I thought. But it is what it is. That's why it's going in there, to get this rust treatment done. There are a few patches that maybe want some extra work. You can see throughout the pictures what they've done to take the rusty parts away, and then what they've done to treat it, although it's not massively obvious the treating because it's relatively clear. They used Lanagard all over everything, which basically is a kind of a once a year kind of thing that you need to top up, but I'm going to take it back to them a little bit earlier than that, I think, to get some extra work done. I'm thinking just getting a top up of the Lanagard while it's in, but also getting a rolling wheel tune done as well. Maybe take this thing up from 140 horsepower up to something like 170 would be quite nice. That's not about speed or anything, it's just about ease of driving when I'm putting the bigger wheels on. I just want this thing to just cruise nicely, and I think that little bit of extra power, extra torque will really help with that. You can see that side exit exhaust going into place now, no boxes, so it should be nice and free running, which will help the engine. As you can hear, it barely changes the note at all, really. So that's it for this episode. Tune in next time for some exciting developments as we do a cab transformation. I'm going to be fitting carpets, which you might have seen a sneaky image of in the back seats of the van there. I'm going to be changing the stereo. I'm going to be sorting all the front seats out, putting swivels on them and lowered bases and all this kind of stuff. Remember to like and subscribe for more. See you all next time.